Hey, Sanford!
Hi there, welcome to Hey Sanford. I'm your host, Shawn Sullivan, and this here next to me is James. James.
Hey. Pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Oh, hi.
You'll have to pardon James, he's a little sleepy. And tell us why, James, you are so exhausted.
Well, I'm a new father again.
A new father again, yes.
Yep,
Tell us about...
Our daughter, Parker Mira Harmon, was born less than a month ago. And she was 7 pounds, 14 ounces, and 21 inches long. So I don't know if you
congratulations.
get that, the 777 thing right there.
She will be very lucky throughout life. That's just a given, 777. And it's no wonder then you're so tired. Second child. You're up all night.
Tired. Yeah,
yet you're still here.
I'm here. I'm doing the best I can, like always.
Yes, you're a machine. Don't worry about it. And Parker has an older sister, doesn't she?
Yep, Sawyer. She's a little sister to Sawyer Brielle. And boy, Sawyer's been an amazing big sis for her.
Excellent.
Helping out as much as possible. Really trying to get in there and help all the time, even when, it might be a little bit above her pay grade. More of a mom and dad job. But
right.
Sawyer is right there.
More Harmons in the world. That's a good thing.
I like to think so. Thank you.
Yes, and here we are. And not that you're busy enough, but here you are doing yet another episode of Hey Sanford. This is our second episode. Yeah. That, by the way, was Aideen Cullen. She's a student here at Sanford High School. She's our technical director as well for this production. And that was her saying, Hey Sanford, before the opening jingle. I used to be her soccer coach.
For real?
Yes, we're talking a long time ago. Yes.
It's a small world.
I was a lot taller than she was back then. Now I think it's the other way around. But so that was Aideen. So thank you very much, Aideen. We also have Sarah Schnell in the studio. She is our studio manager. And of course, our producer, Ricky Dunton. So that's the crew on this second episode. And before we go any further, we really want to thank you, those of you who are watching or listening, or both. We want to thank you for tuning into the first episode. We didn't know how it was going to go. We were a bit taken aback by how well it has done, or how supportive, I should say, people have been of this early effort. And you have some statistics there.
I've got them right in front of me right here. I'd like to share them with you guys, if you don't mind. We have more than 3,000 views of the first episode.
Wow.
Quite a bit more. From such states as Maine, obviously, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, California, Florida, Vermont, Missouri, Hawaii, and Colorado. And interestingly enough, our audience has predominantly been women and those 65 and older.
Interesting. So hopefully we will keep that audience and expand it.
That's right.
With this second episode.
I think that's really cool. We've covered so many states in a little podcast about Sanford.
That
just goes to show how important our community is.
I have classmates in California and Hawaii. So that might be who listened to us out there, or who watched us out there.
Yeah, we'll keep them in the loop about.
Yes, we hope they stay with us.
Some of the cool stuff going on here.
Yeah. So we will be back after the jingle. Our guest for this episode is Kathy Sargent,
my boss,
James's boss. Yes.
Interesting fact: if your boss is named Kathy, she's an awesome boss.
There you go. James, of course, is the video production instructor here at Sanford Regional Technical Center. And Kathy Sargent, the director of the center, is our first guest today. And then we have a musical guest, Geoff Fleming. He'll be here to perform a couple of songs that he has written.
Yes, and one of my former students. So this is it's a special episode.
It's a special episode. Yeah, we have new Harmons in the world. We have Harmon alumni. We have Harmon bosses. We've got it all here. This is the James Harmon Hey Sanford episode. So
wonderful.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after that jingle. Welcome back to Hey Sanford. Our guest this afternoon is Kathy Sargent, the director of Sanford Regional Technical Center here at Sanford High School. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Shawn?
I'm doing well. How's your summer?
It's been good. It's been relaxing and getting some work done, but relaxing a little too.
Excellent. Excellent. Are you ready for the new school year?
I am absolutely ready for the new school year.
Not too far away, right?
Yes.
I mean, tends to creep right up on us.
It does. That's funny how that happens.
How about we start here? We're here at this new high school in Technical Center. It opened in October.
Correct.
In a few weeks, it'll start its first full year.
Yes.
And despite the opportunities to tour the new facility, even if you want to go back to those straw polls where the the vision of this new high school and technical center where was planned out, laid out for everybody, there may be still some who are not acquainted yet with just how new and improved this technical center is. So can you please tell us how this, where we are now, is so different from where we were before at the old high school?
Sure. So where we came from was literally two different parts of the building. You walked into, if you came into the front of the building, what many people call the front of the building, you walked into Sanford High School, and if you continued down the hallway until you really couldn't go any further, you would end up in the technical center. There were double doors between them. We kept those open a lot of the time, but there was definitely a distinct separation of the two schools. And I think in other manners, other than just the physical layout, we had a lot of collaboration happening at that point. So that sort of preceded the physical plant that we're now in. But the new school, the way that this is approached is from a pathways perspective. So career pathways, our hope is that it helps students to think about their future and what their interests are.
And there are 4, right?
There are 4 career pathways. And for a lot of students, it's overwhelming to think about all the careers that exist and what would you like to do with the rest of your life. But a pathway makes it a little more approachable.
Nice.
So we have a STEM pathway, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, which for the technical center tends to be a lot of our kind of traditional technical programs, the hard trades, welding, auto body, for example. Health and Human Services, which houses our health occupations, CNA programs, but also law enforcement, EMS, fire science. We have an arts and communications pathway in which we have 2 programs, including video production and digital design, and then a business and management pathway, which is an exciting part of the building because we have a retail center there. So you can come in, you can have lunch, you can pick up a plant, you can get your hair done, and a lot of those things are still in the works, but it's very exciting to see this different model because interspersed within those programs from the technical center are all the high school courses. So you'll walk down the hallway in the STEM pathway and right next to welding, for example, or precision manufacturing, I guess would be a better example, you'll have a science class. So it's designed to give students more exposure if they're in the high school and haven't thought about the technical center yet. Here's what exists for programs here, to really put those programs on display a little more.
Right, because at the previous school, for all those 48 years, you could go all 4 years as a student at Sanford High School back at the old school and maybe not really have a sense of what was beyond the doors, what was offered behind the doors, whereas now we have the integration. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Now, a lot of the programs that were at the old technical center are naturally here at the new one, but there are more as well, right? Because you have more space and more opportunities.
Yes.
So what is offered here that was not offered at the previous technical center?
Last year, we started 2 new programs, which really the new facility has given us the option to do because I don't know how we would have started a cosmetology program in the old center. It's not impossible, but it requires a lot of retrofitting for plumbing and all those sorts of things. So coming here and being able to open a cosmetology program that was planned space for that purpose was wonderful. And the same thing with our auto collision program, because a big part of that program is pretty sizable paint booth. So it would have been extremely difficult to start that program in the space that we had. Any new programs that we had in the past 6 or 7 years have actually been done in portables. So, we've had to kind of make do with those spaces. This year, we'll actually open a career exploratory program, which is designed for 10th grade students to give them more exposure to what we do in the technical center and hopefully get them interested in continuing with us for 2 years.
Nice. I had a tour once of the of the whole school. I was impressed by a lot of it, especially, the automotive, the precision machining, right? And also the firefighting
Yes.
and the EMS program. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Sure. It's exciting to have those two instructors who really started the programs and have built them to the point they are today.
And who are they?
Those instructors are Wendy Elliott, who is our paramedic who teaches the EMS program, and then Captain Harold Smith, who's well known in Sanford, a former fire chief and a firefighter in Sanford. Harold teaches the fire science program, and they taught their programs out of a portable. And so if you can imagine students donning their firefighter gear and having to keep all of that in a portable classroom, it was not ideal. It was less than ideal.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I knew about the portables, of course. But,
it wasn't great.
They were hard to miss. But
they do, both programs actually do a physical agility test to start the year. And students have to go up and down a flight of stairs, carrying hose, and a number of other things. And Sanford High School was very generous and let us use their stairwells and things like that to get that training done. But it was disruptive. There were classes coming through during, the passing times, and it just wasn't a space that was designed for the purpose that we had for those programs. So now we have this incredible space. The two instructors share, but they're closely aligned programs. It makes perfect sense. We have space for fire truck that we have through a generous donation from Sanford Fire Department. And we also have an ambulance that was donated from another technical center that was no longer using it. So we have actual garage space for those vehicles. We have a stairwell in the program that leads to an upstairs training facility. And I could go on and on about the different features in that space, but it was designed for the training that we're doing in that space. So it's so far superior to a portable in every way imaginable.
I can see that. Yes. And a lot of the other programs at SRTC are also designed and will lead to stronger relationships with industries and manufacturers in the region. Can you give some examples of how that's going to happen?
Sure. That's really our backbone, is having those ties with industry, because that's hopefully where our students will be employed in the future. So, we see it as our role to help bridge some of the issues with the skills gap. There are lots and lots of industries that are crying for help at this point, and we want to help with that problem. We saw that even with the building of this particular facility, that we didn't have masons. We didn't have, a lot of the subcontractors were not available. So we hope to be able to supply some of the students that will ultimately serve in those positions. But I guess one example is we do have a business right in town that we actually have an apprenticeship, or an internship program, I should call it. And we have some students who've gone there, who've worked part of their day in that facility, in that business. And it's a win-win. It's a win for the students because they get that experience and they get to see the world of work in a different way. It can still be very insulating here in the technical center. You're working on your own. If you're that welder who's going into that internship, you can work here in your booth, and it's wonderful. You can leave here with certifications, but going into that world of work and making that next step into kind of an adult role is really positive for students. Right,
because to some extent you're at school, whereas when you venture out into the community, out into the business community, the manufacturing community, then you see, and then of course we have this studio.
This is pretty cool.
Yes, which of course Sarah Schnell manages, and we have James here who teaches video production.
Yes.
And viewers who are actually watching this aren't able to see it, and of course on podcasts you can only hear, but there's actually a movie set taking shape all around us because James is going to be filming a film actually in later this summer. And that will be shown at the film festival, the Sanford International Film Festival, which will be taking place in mid-October. And so that too is happening here. Set construction, filmmaking, podcasts, all sorts of stuff are happening right here at Sanford Regional Technical Center.
Exactly. It's very exciting. This is another space that I really feel the difference in, a space that was built for the purpose that we're using it for at this time. You know, the space that we had at the old school was certainly wonderful, and we were happy to have it. It was spacious, but again, it was kind of retrofitted, and we were able to put in a lovely studio there. But this has really brought us into a new realm.
Yes, it has a lot of good things are coming out of here.
Yes.
The is there anything about the SRTC that in addition, of course, to what we've already discussed, that people might not know that you would like them to know about the school?
Well, I'm always surprised how many community members, at least in the old school, would come in and say, I didn't even know this existed.
Wow.
So just our existence even, I think some people know us well, but there are still community members that don't realize that we're here. I think even in this building, you can still come in and think, oh, that's Sanford High School. And it is, but there's a whole other component to what we offer here. I think the other thing is a lot of people don't realize that we're a regional facility.
Yes.
So career and technical education throughout the state is actually divided up by regions, and we're one of those regions in Southern York County. So we have students from 8 different partner schools in Southern York County who attend here. So
what would those schools be? The Sanford, of course.
Yes, you're going to test me. Sanford, Massabesic, Noble, Marshwood, Trape Academy, Kennebunk, Wells, and I'm leaving someone out, York.
There you go. You
Yes.
got all 8.
Yes, I did get
ya.
all 8. Yes, I passed the test today. So it makes for, I think, a really neat environment, because I know when I first came here, I thought, so you put students together who play against one another in sports and that all just works out okay? And it really does, because I think when you get students together, and in this program, for example, they're all passionate about filmmaking or television, a lot of those other things go away, and
Sure.
they're sharing a passion, and that becomes more important, at least in that moment, to those students. And it works out really beautifully. And some of the relationships between students and their instructors are really powerful and very meaningful for students.
Nice. If you have anybody listening or watching who has a son or daughter who might be interested in enrolling in SRTC, or for that matter, if we have a student listening or watching right now who has listened to you and said, you know what, it sounds like I can pursue some of my interests here. How do they go about that? How do you go about enrolling in SRTC? What's the eligibility? When does the enrollment take place in a typical, academic year?
Sure. Primarily, we're looking at students who will start with us as juniors, and there are certainly some exceptions to that, but most of our programs are 2 years in length. So we're looking at students who can do the entire program. And, there's always the reality of being able to fit that in with your other courses that you have to take at your high school in order to graduate. So junior and senior year tend to be good times to come to us. So what we do in light of that is, for all sophomores in all of our partner schools, we actually go out and do a presentation for the entire sophomore class at each of the schools. And that happens usually January. Most of the presentations we accomplish in January of each school year. And then at that time, we have an online application that becomes available. Students fill that out.
And what would the website for that be?
Oh boy, we're just changing that now. So you're really putting me on the spot. We have a wonderful website at www.sanford.org, which is for the entire school district. But there's a drop-down menu that includes the technical center.
Excellent.
And although it doesn't exist at this point, this year our plan is to bring our online application onto that website, because we do have another website, and it gets a little confusing. So that's the plan for this year. So by January, we'll definitely see that.
Excellent. Also, if anybody has any questions and wishes to contact you, is there a way that you prefer to be contacted, email or telephone number?
Sure. Either way is fine. My email is ksargent@sanford.org. My direct line is 207-206-1779, and they can give me a call.
Nice. And that's KSARGENT.
You got it. Yes,
There we
thank
go.
you.
And now you have been director of SRTC for, is it 6 years?
I'm going into my 6th year.
6
Yes,
years.
yes.
Nice. So you've seen a lot of changes.
I have, and I always say I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So I've actually been, I think this is my 15th year in the center. So I started here as a counselor, did a couple of different counseling jobs, moved into the assistant director position, and then into the director position. So yes, I've seen a lot. I'm excited about the direction that we're headed in, and it's a fun job. It's one of those things where students come in and they're excited to be here, and you don't always see that
Sure.
in schools. So that's what keeps bringing me back.
And you must learn a lot. All the trades and subjects taking place underneath your roof is just
It's amazing.
Right.
I really am in awe of our instructors because they have such immense knowledge of their content area, and with 21 different areas, it's really fun as an administrator to go out and conduct evaluations or just check in with the students and see what they're doing, because they're really proud of their work, and they should be. And you learn new things every day. I'm not an expert in any of these 21 fields, with maybe one exception, but it just more and more information comes to me every day. I learn something new every day.
so 21 fields you said that
21.
are offered here.
Correct.
How many? That's here. How many at the old high school were there?
Oh, goodness. 18.
18.
When we left, there were 8. Well, when we left at the end of the 17-18 school year, we had 18. We actually, at the beginning of last year, started the new programs in less than ideal
Sure.
conditions. Our cosmetology program was actually in just a former social studies classroom. So luckily, we were only there for about a month because it wasn't perfect. So.
Sure. Now, let's talk about summer, because, right, it's passing by quickly,
Yes.
as it
Yes,
always
it is.
does. You told me before we started the interview that you have a camper.
We do.
Kind of a new camper that you bought a couple of
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And for the first summer with this camper, you've done something new with your family.
Yeah, we were taking it kind of on the road a little bit, and we decided this year that the better route was to become seasonal campers. So we became seasonal campers in the same town where we live. So we didn't make much of a move in any direction, but
So if you have to run home and get something,
it's ideal. My kids
Exactly.
are still involved with sport. They're young. They're involved in sports, and they still have things happening in the summer. So it's a staycation.
you're not
10 minutes down the
2,700
road.
miles from home.
Exactly. It's perfect. It works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that basically, have you done other things this summer with your family?
It's been very much a staycation kind of a summer. Not really. We went on a vacation to Disney World. That's kind of one of our repeat vacations that we do most years.
Ah, very nice.
Back in April. So that was a very high energy vacation. So now we're ready for just relaxing a little.
And how far in advance of the new school year starting do you have to get back into the swing of things? Like in terms of summer, you're here today, but in terms of summer,
Right.
relaxing, staycation,
Right.
When will you be here for the new school year?
I'm pretty much here now.
There we go.
August 1st always signals to me that it's time to get things going. We've certainly been doing hiring and things like that really shouldn't wait. But in terms of getting all the handbooks written and all of those things done, it's time.
It's the one season, it's my favorite season. It's the one season you wish would just stay or linger.
Summer?
And it flies. It flies right by.
It does.
So
Especially after some of the weather that we had in the spring. I think
yes,
we're
we had a
enjoying.
late start. Yeah, in May
Yes.
it was. Yeah. Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
that you are able to enjoy your new camper
Thank you.
during your staycation with your family.
Yes.
Thank you for everything that you do here
Thank
at
you.
this wonderful new school. It's a very exciting development in the community. Certainly one of the biggest things that I've seen happen here in Sanford in my lifetime, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree. It's an exciting development, and you're doing a wonderful job with it. And thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining us here today on Hey Sanford. And good luck when that new school year comes. Good luck with it, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Excellent. You too. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you, Kathy. Welcome back. We're now here with our musical guest, Geoff Fleming. Geoff.
Sean, thanks for having me.
Yes, how you doing, Geoff?
Doing well.
Thank
Doing
you
well.
for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
You're going to perform a couple of songs with us now. And first, before you begin, though, you are a 2011 graduate of Sanford High School, right?
Yes,
The
I
former
am.
school.
Yep.
Who was your teacher while you were there?
James Harmon, the
James
director.
Harmon.
Yep, the director of this podcast here. I used to go to the high school with him, and I took RY class
Nice. And RY stands for?
Reconnecting Youth.
Excellent. Okay.
I got into a car accident when I was 17 and kind of threw me off track, but that class really kind of brought me back into,
Nice.
going straight forward and helped me out. Probably one of the best teachers I've had in that school.
Our own James Harmon. Very
Yep,
nice.
he's helped me and probably multiple kids beyond me. And
Well, that's a very nice shout out to our own James Harmon. And you've also performed with him, right, musically?
I have. Back in high school again, we played Battle of the Bands. And we did a couple of really good, solid rock songs. And it was fun. It was a good time.
And not only James, but you've also performed alongside our producer, Ricky Dunton.
Yes. Actually, we started back in junior high. And we had a little band together. He started off as a singer. I started off as a drummer. And he helped me kind of deviate into what direction I wanted to go in as a musician. It was a good time. We definitely did a bunch of fun stuff. We recorded a couple of things that I actually still have.
So a little bit of a musical reunion here.
Yes.
But we are here to hear you. So I'm going to pass this over to you. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geoff Fleming.
So I have this song that I wrote last night. I haven't actually gotten a name for it yet. So I figured I'd name it right here on Hey Sanford. I was thinking, kind of just by reeling through my head, that I'd probably name it Never Be Scared. So we're going to go with that. And here we go. So that one called Never Be Scared. I'm going to move on to a song that I wrote for my daughter. I call it Ava's Song. I wrote it a couple months back. She's my biggest inspiration, so that's where I'm at.
Once I started walking the line, going to work every night. You don't know how many tears I've cried from the world I won't hide. This is where we make a stand. Hold my hand. Every walk of life is a lesson. Let the sands wash away another day. Learn their way. Let's stand up and rise. 'Cause I'll be by your side. I'll be by your side. Yeah, I'll be by your. I look at your beautiful eyes. Never knew how much a little girl could spin my world. And in your love, all you beautiful girls. This is where we make a stand. Hold my hand. Every walk of life is a lesson. Let the sands wash away another day. Learn their way. Let's stand up and rise. 'Cause I'll be by your side. I'll be by your side. This is where we make a stand. Hold my hand. Every walk of life is a lesson. Let the sands wash away another day. Learn their way. Let's stand up and rise. 'Cause I'll be by your side. 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 Yeah, I'll be by your.
Great job, Geoff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Now, if people want to hear more of your music, they can go on Facebook, right?
Yes.
And that's Geoff Fleming on Facebook. That's GeoffFleming, correct?
Yep.
Excellent. So go to Facebook to hear more of Geoff's music. Wonderful job here today. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hey Sanford.
Thank you, Shawn. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Good luck to you.
Thank you as well.
And that concludes this episode of Hey Sanford. See you next time.